and hard. They ran at any time. Give up. I don't know how many fast break points it was, but it was a lot. 30 plus. And you couple that with the points in the paint. I think it's 86. They were getting in there a lot of different ways, but I think just transition, having urgency to get back. You start there. If you don't get back, good teams. Easy baskets in transition. It's going to be tough to do anything after that. So a lot of things we need to clean up. I think stating the obvious. And on some level, games like this, they're going to come in some capacity. It's tough to have this on the home opener. The enthusiasm we have needs to be channeled correctly. Things that are going to help us win games. For our team, we know what those things are. They require focus and they require work. Tonight we felt the level that we have to work on. If we don't do that, this is the result.
Coach, you mentioned the points in the paint. How much is that a balance of, like you were talking about, this is urgency, or just the way Toronto wants to play with having so many guys that want to attack, put pressure on the rim, and score the paint?
In the NBA, there's almost no player that can guard one-on-one full speed down there. There's a few of them, I'm sure, that are out there. So when you see space, you're able to attack. So when you see no one in front of you, there's the ball to be protect them at the outset, let alone with the ball. You have to take care of the rim first. Their commitment to driving the ball means you did not just have one player out there. Someone's coming in, there needs to be 2, 3 guys that are running into shifts to stop the ball as opposed to running to the man or not running with enough urgency. And I think that moment comes immediately. And something they were very good at. They changed things very quickly. They switched. They had Barnes or Ingram on the perimeter. They were on throws and passes. So a lot of things go into transition defense, but I think the biggest thing is just the urgency mentally to get back, to protect the rim and then stop the ball. You need more than one guy to stop the ball, but that was the space they were seeing. And by the same token, in half court, we have to do a better job staying in front of the ball. Even in those situations, if there's granted, it was a really tough one-on-one matchup, but that's the point. It can't be a one-on-one matchup. You've got to shift, let them see bodies, and that team defense. I've seen our guys do it. The focus just has to be there, and has to be there on the level. And there's a lot that we need to take from tonight, and not get ahead of ourselves. And in my mind, we've got, it's obvious we got a long way to go when we watch the next game. But I felt like that's not necessarily a bad thing. We've got a long way to go, and I feel like you can get there. But getting there is the key. We took some pain tonight, and we need to take that adversity and learn from it. And from an X&O standpoint, transition defense, actually, there is a tactic to it. But more than that, you just have to sprint and get back.
Jalen Johnson, a huge positive tonight, reminding us once again just how much of a playmaker he is with 22 points and 8 assists. What did you see out of him in this first game back?
Well, it's good. It's good to see him out there. He's one of he loves playing, and I think he's been really focused on the things that he needs to do to help our team win. And I thought he'll be the first one to throw his hand up and say he needs to do a better job defensively in transition, which is also good. Some of the things that he was doing on the offensive end, attacking in space and making plays capable of doing, we need to keep doing it.
Coach, I've heard Coach Popovich after a tough loss sometimes the shots go in, sometimes they don't. After a loss like this, were you okay at least with the shot selection you got from your guys?
No, I think we need to get better shots. And when I say that, there's opportunity. You've heard the expression, it could be great, right? They wrote a book about it back in the 90s. So that, when you get in the lane, we want to attack the paint. We took a lot of shots where the ball didn't hit us. And there's times when in rhythm, in transition, those can be good shots. They're open. But other times when we are able to drop the ball and get in the paint, we talk about having our eyes out. There's people on the perimeter that we can make an extra pass and play with the pass in the situation. So there's a balance there. I didn't think we found it tonight. We have an unselfish team, so it's not a question in my mind of guys being selfish as much as it is kind of understanding and raising our awareness. The fact that there's people that are open and you've done your job. You get in there and there's a crowd. By the same token, I didn't think we had the same urgency spacing. So there were times when we went in there and there would be open people if we ran harder on offense. So.
You talked about pregame, the defensive rebound being a stop, obviously, with how the defense plays out. I'm curious how you felt the physicality of tonight's game maybe impacted some of the effort on the boards.
Yeah, I think we have to be the aggressor. When people are crashing the glass, if you allow them to contact, push you under, any rebound that's long, it's going to be hard to get. So I think that's the last, as the defense unfolds, and that's a bookend, right? I mean, first of all, in transition, you don't get a chance to do any of that. And then we did have some possessions where we did guard, and those are the possessions where we need to get kills. We need to close plays. That's when you get rewarded for it offensively. I thought that hurt us particularly in the first half. We need to get some stops.
Coach. Hi. Zachary Richardson just talked about his game today. He's a little aggressive offensively.
I'm sorry, he was what?
He's aggressive offensively.
Yeah, and he's been that. And he's finding a good balance between. I think you saw him attack the rim in transition that one time when he banged up his ankle and had to come out. But he's done a good job of running and spacing, and that's why he's open. And he's shooting the ball with confidence. We need him to keep doing that. We've got a lot of guys that that care, and our levels just got to come up. We got to come up collectively. The team, I've said it, that this team, its strength is to play as a team. You don't get a chance to do that if you don't take care of business and give up 86 points in the paint. That tells us we're not as connected as we do defensively with guarding the ball, but then people are going to get beat. And then it's rotations, and that's the next rotation, and then it's
Coach, how much did the foul trouble, specifically tonight, seem early, kind of affect what you guys wanted to do throughout the game?
It's never. It's hard when one of your better players gets in foul trouble. No question about it. In Dyson's case, it's impactful. I don't want to point to foul trouble. It's more than that. Dyson clearly can make a difference, but even Dyson, if he's running back and he's by himself, we're not going to get stops. We can't. We need to defend 5 guys collectively.
Coach, I know there's only one game. I know this was only one game, but in years past, we've struggled to get off to a fast start. It's cost us down the line in trying to get into the playoffs. What can you tell the guys going into these next couple of games to keep us going, to make sure we don't fall into that hole again, because it's cost us in the years past?
Yeah, I think every year is different. First of all, I think this is, even if you date back, it's hard to look back 3 or 4 years. I think this team, in the growth process, you're going to take some lumps, and I think the challenge is you got to help me get better. And, we know the schedule. We know we have a tough schedule. We don't have to play on the road. We got OBC. We have on the road a good portion of November. And we want to win every game. So I'm always a little reluctant to look at record early in the year. That's again not to say, to your point, right? It's relevant, of course. But I think this is a team. We have to clean up the things that we didn't do well tonight, and then we'll have opportunities to win games. I think about it, we need to win to get off to a good start. I don't think we're focused on the little things and the habits and the hard work. There's just no shortcuts on the court for all five guys. That's where our focus is.
Yeah, Quinn, that third quarter in particular, they hung 48 on you. I think you went 12 for 12, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Did something change after halftime in particular?
They usually at halftime when you go through, I didn't. The things we talked about at halftime were the same things we're going to be talking about right now. So I think on some level, that's got to sink in, and you oftentimes you get a moment at halftime, you're able to kind of regroup, and, raise your level in that situation. That didn't happen, and I think, John, I guess the biggest thing I can say is you got to know on a deeper level what we need, how this team has to win. And it starts with that. I think part of it too, when these things are, it's circular too. It's simple. I should say when a team is running, we're getting out and laying it in. More stagnant, I think you can build. And that was. It wasn't that different than the rest of the game, although statistically, clearly it was a spike. But I didn't think they converted more. It was a little worse, but we just didn't get back. That quarter more than others. But I don't think it. I don't think we had portions of the game where we really did a good job at that in general. And there may be some things that were more extreme. You certainly felt it, right? And that's one of those ones that it'll be good to see the tape. And if there's some other things that are differentiated in that quarter from the others. But my gut and feeling, we were calling timeouts, trying to stop runs, we come out of timeouts, the messaging would be similar, and we just never were able to internalize it on a level that's deep enough, and that's what we need to do. And that's just getting back. That's a very obvious one. That's right. So, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right.